and I don't. And and he began to shake hands with the congregation. At the end of the line, there was this little boy who came up and shook his pastor's hand. And he said, "Pastor, when I get older, I'm going to give you a lot of money." The pastor was like, "Okay, thanks, son, but can I ask you why?" And then the little boy said very earnestly, "Yes, Pastor, my dad says that you're the poorest pastor we ever had." In the back there, if I hear anybody say that they'll give me money, I know what you mean. However, checks payable too. We all have our passions, and we are now in our gifts. We're in week 5 of our Spiritual Gift series. Can I get a hallelujah for that? Yeah, I agree. All right. We have journeyed so far in the first week on. We have been gifted for the purpose of using the gifts to serve others. To week 2, that our spiritual gifts are meant for spiritual works, to do spiritual things for God's body. Week 3 was we are all equally different and differently equal. We have different giftings for different purposes, and we shouldn't envy or want to copy someone else's, but to use what God's given you for the purpose of serving others and serving God. Last week we talked about you can't mature in your walk with Christ unless you actually use your gifts. And part of the maturing process is doing. You don't do to earn salvation, you do as a result or outflowing of your walk with Christ. Which leads to this week. Follow your passion. This is probably one of the most practical sermons you'll ever hear me preach. Alright? This is where the rubber hits the road. All of the spiritual gifts inventories I got, I received 38 of them. I'm very pleased with that number. I have handed back to you. If you don't have one in your hands, it probably is because the link did not work properly. So if you did it online and you don't have it back, we ask you to go back to the web page, click it again, and after you hit Analyze Answers, click Email to someone else and put in my email address, and I will get it and I will back to you by next week. All right, I promise you. So in your hands are your spiritual gifts. You should have a sheet like this. I will be referring to this today. If you don't have one, that's fine. This sermon is still good for you, but this helps if you have this done. We're going to pick up in Romans chapter 12, beginning with verse 3. Paul writes this to the Christians of Rome, and the context is he is telling the Christians you must live your life as a sacrifice to God and to others. And we pick up in verse 3 as he talks about the spiritual gifts. Paul writes, "For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the measure of faith God has given you. Just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function. So in Christ, we who are many form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given us. If a man's gift is prophesying, let him use it in proportion to his faith. If it is in serving, let him serve. If it is teaching, let him teach. If it is encouraging, let him encourage. If it is contributing to the needs of others, let him give generously. If it is leadership, let him govern diligently. If it is showing mercy, let him do it cheerfully." Here ends the reading of God's holy word.
Praise be to God.
Hey, all right. It's a new year. All right. Your handouts here that I had, and I returned for those who did the hard copy test exams. I also gave it back to you. But these summarize your top gifts. Now let me make one more statement. This is a gauge. This is not a scientific test. This is just a springboard. All right. Now, I've taken these gifts, and depending on my mood, it can change the outcome. If I'm cranky, I'm not going to be very high in mercy that day, am I? All right? Can I get an amen there, all right? All right? So, again, it's a gauge, all right? So what we did is I took your top 3 gifts, and if you had some tied, they're listed together, or it says tied next to them, all right? So, my top gifts, according to me,
very generous.
well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that.
Joke time?
No, no joke. Yeah, jokes, that's my number 12, 16, I think. Was encouragement and hospitality were top. And then knowledge, and then faith and teaching. Those were my top. Some of them were tied. Now, I'll encourage you guys to do this too. Ask your spouse or someone that knows you well to answer those questions for you on your behalf. Last night we did that, and these are the ones that Nikki did for me, as if she was her perception of me. I'll be honest. Handsome? No. and encouragement was first. Teaching, wisdom, and hospitality, and leadership and knowledge. They kind of mesh well together. Now, I know some of us have had our families take it for us, and it's caused some disagreement within the family. This can be a fun thing, though, because oftentimes our self-perception is vastly different than what others perceive us as to be. So, if you do it first yourself, and then have someone else do it for you who knows you well, and then you can dialogue in lovingness of Christ about what the answers were, and you can have some great discussion there. Spiritual gifts are used, as we have said, to build up the body. And if you don't use them, you're hurting yourself in your growth process, and you're hurting the body because we need you and your gift. And God has given to you. I'm going to briefly go through what these gifts are. And this gift inventory lists 16 gifts. Others list more, but these are the ones that this inventory says. If you want to put that slide up there with the gifts. One more. Yeah, all right, good. All right. The gift of administration. All right. That is the God-given ability to understand what makes an organization function, and the special ability to plan and execute procedures that accomplish the goals of the ministry. So not necessarily doing paperwork and filing, that may be part of that, but this is the ability to see the bigger picture and where things need to go and help to make that work. All right? Where this meets the road here in Dunn County, if this is one of your top gifts, some possible things that you could do, here it is, would be being on teams that plan things, planning events, planning the church calendar. The events committee would be great. A special event organizer would be fantastic. Chairing a committee would be under that gifting. And also teams that plan, planning teams. Excuse me. The gift of discernment. That is the gift, the God-given ability to distinguish between truth and falsehood. Is able to discern the difference between good and evil, right and wrong. All right. Now, for here at this church, what that could mean for those with this gift is counseling. If somebody comes to you for advice or for counsel, or to be on the board or a committee member to give your discernment as to when things come up, that could be very helpful to that body. Encouragement. It is the God-given ability to present words of comfort, consolation, and encouragement to strengthen or urge to action those who are discouraged or wavering in their faith. I get some water, please. Thank you. What that means for those with this gift would be serving in the kids' ministries. That would be a great asset to encourage kids to visit those who are sick at home or in the hospital. Counseling those who need someone to have an ear and to give advice to. Here in church, be a church greeter at the door. Come in. If you are good with and encouragement, you're probably good with people. They want to see a smiling face. That'd be great. Also, a support group facilitator, or in the prayer ministry, or even card ministry, or make phone calls. If someone hasn't come to church for a while, write them a card, give them a call to encourage them. That'd be huge. The gifts of evangelism, the God-given ability to effectively communicate the gospel to unbelievers, so they respond in faith and move toward discipleship. What that means here would be, again, a greeter would be a great way of doing that as well, and that you probably have the outgoing personality. Visitor follow-up. If somebody comes to the church and they are new to the church, give them a call, write them a letter. If it's the second, third time, go say, hey, how you doing at their home. Or for outreach events, whether we have a table down at the square during the Christmas tree lighting and the national night out, we have people come here from all over town. Be involved there, get to know people. That's probably that lines up right with what your giftings are. The gift of faith. Thank you. The gift of helps right there. Thank you. Much better. I'm so thirsty. The gift of faith, and what that is translated into, is the God-given ability to act on God's promises with confidence and unwavering belief in God's ability to fulfill His purposes. So if you have that gift, or that's one of your higher giftings, for this church, a board member would be great with that. To visit people, to spread your gift of faith with them. Prayer warrior, or a member of the prayer chain. Pray in faith that God will do His will. Those are great things that we have now here that you can also be involved with. The gift of giving. It's the God-given ability to contribute money and resources to the work of the Lord with cheerfulness and liberality. And what that means is, as far as what you can do here, is to be involved in fundraising. Or when we have our stewardship moments up here, to share what you have seen God do for you and others through your giving, through God doing His works, through that. Or to support missionaries with that. Or just seeing somebody in need here in town, or in this church, and helping out. It also goes with the gift of mercy as well. But perhaps your gift is in helps. That's a God-given ability to accomplish practical and necessary behind-the-scenes tasks which free up, support, and meet the needs of others. Now, this is probably in this church, one of the most common giftings that I saw is helps. That means we are a very service-oriented church. That's good. That's really good. What that means as far as serving with the church, office help. This gift can work anywhere. Anywhere. Office help. Help with the kitchen, event setup, event teardown, ushers, on the building and grounds committee, the community concerns and outreach committee, maintaining the visitor cards, pencils, make sure that they're sharp in your pews. That's the thing that needs done. It often doesn't get done. It's one of those things that is needed to. And etc. You can go on forever in this category. Help is you want to help behind the scenes with the ministry to make it flow.